One of the advantages of using Lightroom 3 is that it allows you to import and export movie or video files. Yet one of the things that happens a lot of times is that our movie or video files are kind of tangled up in our photographic library. Well, here's a trick which will help you find these files really quickly. Navigate to the library module. Next, press the # key to open up your filtering, and then from there what we're going to do is click on Attribute. Now in the Attribute filter, we want to go to the far right. The first two icons here for photographs, the last icon, that's the one we're looking for. Show us just the video or movie files. Great, I found the file I'm looking for. I'll go ahead and double click this to take it to this loop view mode. And here we can see this file, 8-second long clip that I captured with my Canon 5D Mark II. In this particular video, I was interested in creating a short little clip which showcases this book I recently wrote titled Visual Poetry. And I wanted to do this in order to include this video on the website for the book, in order to promote the book. Yet currently, this video is part of my Lightroom catalog. It's stuck inside of Lightroom. So how do I get it out of Lightroom? Well, it's actually pretty simple. All that you need to do is to navigate to your File pull-down menu, and then from here, we're going to choose Export. Now, of course, you can press a shortcut key as well. On a Mac, Shift-Command-E. On a PC, Shift-Control-E, or simply just click on the option for Export. Now, in the Export dialog, this is a little bit counterintuitive, so let's talk about it. We first choose an export location. In this case, I'm choosing a folder. I've titled this folder Visual Poetry, or I'll go ahead and abbreviate that VP for Visual Poetry, which is the name of the book. Now I can also choose to rename the file, and I'm going to do that. In this case, I'm going to rename it so it has a file name plus a sequence number. So it's going to have a -1 next to it. All right, well, what about the file settings? As you go through these different file settings, you notice that you have this option to include video files. Now, one of the things that you may be thinking is, well, that's kind of strange, right? It's a little bit counterintuitive. Yet all that you need to do when exporting video is say include video files. It's not going to convert this to a JPEG or convert it to a DNG. Rather, what it's going to do is ignore all of your settings, your image sizing, your metadata, your sharpening, your watermark options. It's going to ignore all of that, and it's just going to say, hey, I'm going to take this file as is, I'm going to copy it to a new location. Well, once we've dialed in all of these settings, and again, we can leave all of these options turned off, and by default they are here. I'm going to go ahead and show this file in my Finder after export. And I'm going to do that because there's one more thing that we have to think about when exporting movies. All right, well, let's go ahead and click Export. Lightroom will show us the progress. And then here what it's going to do is open up this folder, which we can see titled VP. So now I have a new version of this video file. It's VP-1 and it's 43 megs. Now that's kind of interesting, and we have to stop and think about that. This video file is 8 seconds long. Well, what if the video file is really long and the file size is huge? Well, what's happening is it's actually duplicating the file. It's taking the original file, leaving it where it was, and giving us yet a new version of the file. And sometimes we may not want to have a duplicate version of our video files simply because of file size. So let's dig into this even a little bit more. Back to Lightroom. In Lightroom, what we can do is we can right-click on anything, image or video, and then choose Show in Finder. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And now that I have these two Finder windows open, let me resize them a little bit so that we can see this just a touch better. We can see that one of these versions of the file is saved in a folder titled VP. Another one is saved in this folder titled Movie. Now this is the one that's part of my library. This was the original file. This was the one that I exported. Now they'll both be the same file size, but the whole point is that when exporting, Lightroom is duplicating your movie file. So if you don't want it to duplicate your movie file, well, all that you need to do is right-click or control-click and choose Show in Finder, and then you can find the movie file and then work with it from there. In other words, you could drag this to a new location, you could copy it to a new location, you could start working on the file from right in this location and begin to edit it here, whatever makes sense to your overall workflow. But a quick word of caution, if we do move this file, Lightroom's going to be a little bit upset. It's going to not really know where that file is actually located, and things will get a little bit confusing. Yet in certain scenarios, it may be for the better because you simply won't want to have the duplicate amount of file size. In most scenarios, what I think you'll soon discover is you'll come up with a particular workflow which will make most sense for you in regards to handling your movie files. Yet what I wanted to do here was just show you that you have a couple of different options when it comes to exporting and working with movie files from inside of Lightroom.